Here we go for part 3. For the past few days, I don't know if you've seen the previous 2 interviews of myself, I think the previous 2 days, but for the past few days I've been nudged by my soul, that is me, to share some experiences and whatever comes to mind. I don't have anything in mind, even as I'm introducing this segment. I have no idea exactly what I'm going to talk about, but it'll come. And in the spirit of the spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and courageous, the set of frequency and attribute that is becoming more and more prevalent in our daily lives. As we move through this transition that we call ascension, moment by moment, day by day, interaction by interaction. Obviously, everybody knows that there's been quite a bit of solar activity for the last few days, which is probably why my soul's been nudging me to do this. Even though I've grown a bit more comfortable to do this, I'm still uncomfortable doing it, but you know how it is when the soul guides you and tells you what you need to do. We do it, and that's what got all of us here to this point where we're beginning to share experiences and become more transparent, moving past vulnerability to create a field of experience, code, wisdom, knowledge, love, found in the common denominator of everything that we go through, have gone through, and will go through. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And before we get started, let me just take a moment to say to everyone, thank you for showing up on Mother Earth. Thank you for showing up at this time. Thank you for sharing space with me in this moment. Just a quick update on the Soulogy network. We have been on a hiatus. That's been on me. Like many of us, I've had to go into solitude. Spent a lot of time in privacy, spent a lot of time thinking about things and contemplating things and integrating things. But tomorrow we are getting back on it. We're developing a tutorial tomorrow, which we'll be releasing in the next couple of days, probably before the weekend's over, that will, allow anyone that wants to come in and create their own show, and those that have already started will begin to be able to do what I've been doing for them last year. So we're really looking forward to that, and I just want to thank Victoria Rolfe for helping me to do that, helping Soulogy to do that. More on that later, but let's get back to the nudge of the soul and why I'm here. I see a lot of emotional fluctuations going on for everyone, or many people anyway, no doubt. There's been quite a bit. I don't get on social media much, but it doesn't take much, given the algorithms that have been developed for me personally and for you personally. You kind of get what you need when you take a peek. And so I've seen people talking about grief, and I've seen people talking about judgment, and I've seen people talking about a greater compassion. I've seen people twisting and turning and burning, but it's all good. And just remember that triggers are activations, and activations are triggers. So I guess where I'm going to go with this is to kind of go through something that I know most people know about, my early awakening in general. And I'm not going to get to specific episodes, but to some of the intel that came in when I first reawoke in 2011, because I think it's very applicable to what's going on right now. As I understand it, my soul, that is me, chose to go head on when 2012 started, 2011 and 2012, to go deep into the shadow at the front end of this period and really grind some things out. Not that I came out of it, because it was about a 2-year period that I was homeless, but not that I came out of it in perfect, unshadowed, unconditioned condition. But there was a lot of things that I went through at that time that I had to integrate and that I had to come to terms with and equalize, that I see people doing over the last couple of years, but especially over these past few weeks. So I offer this, express this from my soul, the heart and mind of my spirit, the I am soul, with the purest intention, and in the hopes that I may, help somebody, and maybe it helps them in some way. That's what we're all doing here, right? That's what we've all been doing, as we've been going through this transition over the last, few years, and for some it's been many years, and for some it's been just 2 or 3 years. I'm about to do a show, as we're getting some shows scheduled, with somebody that had made a comment that just woke up just 2 years ago. And the great thing about the quantum environment is that longevity has its place, no doubt. But in this quantum environment, which is basically a beehive intelligence with many other attributes, once we become aware of something and accept it and embrace it, we pretty much catch up with everybody else for the most part. Now, everybody's is made up of an infinite number of frequencies. Some of them are, some you have, or you could say higher or more expansive than some that I have, and vice versa. So let's just keep that in mind. But I'll tell you the very first thing that occurred to me. Actually, I'm going to back up just a little bit more. I talked about kind of the reawakening episode that I had in 2011, May 30th, at 1:11 in the morning, when the cosmic Christ came through the trees and we had a conversation. That night I went to sleep for the last time with my family. And the next morning, and I won't go into the details, but I'd be glad to do it should people have questions. It's really not the story that I'm trying to put out here, and it's really not about me. It's about the energy, the vibrational resonance of what I'm putting out as a whole. Because I know that my heart's in the right place. I know that, like most all of us, if not every one of us, even though we doubt ourselves, that our heart and our mind, and I'm not talking about the monkey mind, I'm talking about the mind, the universal mind. So the universal mind and the universal heart that's within us, which I call the I am soul, that we've reached a high enough level to actually have landed on this new earth, and many people are talking about it. Our beloved sister, Alicia Brachet, put out a video yesterday or today, because I get mixed up because she's in the southern hemisphere, where she talks about having landed on the new earth. I put that YouTube up in Soulogy group just a while ago. And she too had taken a hiatus and taken some time off. So I know that her and I are not the only ones. But in that transmission that she shared on YouTube, she talked about being on the new earth, and many other people have. So, that would just kind of be the first thing I'd say, is it's not coming, it's here, no matter what's going on. And as the distortion expands, it's in direct parallel to our individuality expanding, our souls expanding, our awareness expanding, and our enlightenment expanding in a way that it never has before. So do not underestimate the power of one unique and equal soul, especially your own. So after I had this occurrence with the cosmic Christ, who appeared in the trees, and had a conversation, I went to sleep, and he told me that tomorrow that my whole world would turn upside down. And he said before I went to bed, just remember, you'll never be alone and you'll never be forsaken. And I really didn't know, as a human, my human aspect, really what the hell was going on. I was in a pretty volatile situation, very very chaotic and so on. And I won't go into details, especially because of the folks that were involved and the circumstances that were involved. But uh, but I will tell you a little bit of the story. The next morning, I woke up and there was a chaotic situation that had been occurring, on a more and more frequent basis in my household. And my wife, my second wife, who has transitioned and transitioned about a year later, actually. Um, uh, she was having psychotic episodes, and so anyway, it had been happening more frequently, and we were being visited by the police, and so they came in and they had me on the couch, and there was about six of them. Three of them were with me, three of them were with her in the kitchen, and basically what happened was it's kind of a funny story, really, um, because we knew some of these cops, right? They'd seen us before. They knew there was an issue, whatever. And so I was talking to him, and I was talking to two or three of them, and as I'm sitting on the couch in my bare feet and a pair of blue jeans, and a sergeant walked in, and I had said something like, "I don't know what else to do. I've done everything I can." And he says, not having been privy to what had been going on in the past, nor in that incident, and he says to me, "Well, what is?" I said, "I've done everything I can. I don't know what else to do." And he said something to the effect of, "Well, you haven't done enough." And I stood up and I said, "F you." And he said, "Turn around, you're going to jail." So that's what happened. 42 hours later, I came out, my family was gone, and that's kind of where this starts. So the next 6 weeks I spent in my room listening to one song, a song by Kid Cudi called "Do It Alone." It's a pretty incredible song that really just spoke to me. So imagine listening to the same song for 6 weeks. And then I went out into um, I went by my own choice to go homeless. And my soul guided me, knowing that I needed to connect to the universal, in this manner. And although it was crazy and it sounded crazy, I mean, but these are the crazy things that we've all done to get to the place that we are. So the first thing I heard was, and there's two things I wanted to share with this because I feel like it's applicable to what's going on for people right now. But the very first thing I heard, and I can tell you that I had never really read the Bible or anything like that, but I do understand, as we all begin to understand more and more as time has gone on, that certain things are presented to us. Certainly, if we hear them in our third eye, in our visual, in our third eye, or spoken to us from our soul within our internal self. I kept hearing the name Job, which, if you look in the Bible, it's Job, Job. Now, the only thing I knew about Job was the adage, the patience of Job, but I didn't know anything about the story or anything like that. I just thought, this is weird. Why am I hearing about, Job? And obviously, I'd been having some divine episodes, and such as the cosmic Christ coming in the tree and that type of thing, and other things that had occurred over that 6 weeks that I was kind of preparing to go out onto the streets. But anyway, so I heard this patience of Job, and I heard it several times as I left my house and went out onto the street. Got a hotel for three nights. That's all the money I had, and then it was really on the streets, just kind of going from one place to another and following the flow and developing this constant communion with the universal through the exercise of walking literally many miles every day. That was just what I did. I just would walk and walk and walk and talk to myself and mantras to myself and chant to myself and cry for myself and so many different things. But so I kept hearing the name Job and not really understanding what the connection was. And somehow or another, I came across his story. And his story was that he was the most faithful man on the planet Earth at the time that this story is told. And the story goes, and again, it's allegory, metaphoric, whatever, you can take it how you want it. But to me, it's really about the energy of the message and the message of the energy. And the devil comes to God and says, the reason that Job is the most faithful man in the world is because he's rich and he's got a beautiful family and so on and so on and so on. And for those of you who know the story, number one, if I get anything wrong, please forgive me. And number two, bear with me so we can allow the people to understand it that have never heard the story. So basically, what happened was is God said, "Okay, I'll take you up on this, and we'll take away everything he has, everything he has." Now, as I was reading this story, it really spoke to me because now I'm in a situation where, at 49 years old and having had a successful career and been honored to be the father of six different children, had two what I still consider wonderful marriages, and as we know, things come and go, but I still looked at everything with gratitude. But I was on the streets with no money, no car, of course, no home, no job, no family, and with some of the things that would occur, really no reputation, just everything, no freedom. I ended up being locked up again, or actually two more times or three more times during this period. So it really spoke to me because the first part of the story said, God's agreed to take everything away from Job, and because he knows that his faith will not diminish, right? And so, again, I'm not saying this or telling this story for the purpose of bringing attention to myself, or really to get caught up in the story, but to kind of demonstrate the value of the story and how it really pertains to all of us, especially as the distortion expands. And again, just remember the distortion will not expand at a greater level than our internal expansion and our internal awareness and understanding. So that all equates to personal power. And just remember, there is nothing that can be presented to us that is more powerful than the I am soul, which is you and which is me. So as I was reading this story, and I read the first part, and I hear that God's going to take away everything from this man Job, I start to read further into the story, and I won't go into all the details, but everything was taken away from him: family, all of his money, all of his possessions, and to the point where he even suffered with boils all over his body and all this stuff, and the devil and its minions would come visit him and say, "Hey, how could God do this to you? And, don't you mistrust him?" And this and that. And Job just kept saying no. So just to fast forward to the end of that story, he ends up getting everything back a thousandfold. And I feel like that there is a lot of merit and credibility to the metaphoric, energetic value of this story for all of us, because as we've all gone through dark nights of the soul, and as we've all learned to let go of things, and even as time has gone on, even up to this day, these things that are removed from us one way or the other, we let go, we accept, we allow, but we grow stronger in our faith. We don't give up, and it on a personal level, it really helped me. And you got to remember, I'm walking the streets for 2 years in faith, and in total belief, and of course having divine episodes and having things that assisted me to believe it. But at the same time, I was still a human being, just like we all are. And I was having doubts, and I was, having suicidal thoughts. And, it's an amazing thing that we can lose our minds and find the light at the same time in any given period of time, to include this very day today. So don't ever forget that. If that's something I could give to anybody, it is to say, as we move through the equalization of this dualistic polarity, doing universal work that has never been done before, especially in a place so dense as the earth, at least from the human perspective. This is actually the greatest opportunity we've ever had to maximize the potential of universal growth and experience, both on a soul level and on a collective level. So, it was something that continually my soul, that is me, kept reminding me of, and not to give up, and this and that. And I had many experiences which I've talked about in the past. But again, I'm here today for the third time, as a result of my soul nudging me, not fully understanding everything, which is kind of how this thing works for all of us, right? We're doing things and saying things that we don't really know why we're doing it, but we're moved to do it. And I think it's important at this time that we listen to our soul, and own our soul as the being that we are, and to recognize this very body, even though it's physical, as the soul. We are integrating, uh, embodying the soul. And, what could be more of an embodiment of the soul than to open up the human in full transparency? I don't know how long, or for how long I'll be doing these solos, even as we get into our shows again here in the next few days and weeks to come. But I'm going to keep doing it as long as I'm being told to do it, because I do understand that there's some type of power in it for any and all of us that I don't totally understand, and I don't need to understand. I just know that when our soul guides us and we give up the resistance and the attachment, and from the programming or to the programming, or whatever, however you want to describe it, there's a huge elevation and expansion, and provides others a wonderful reflection of who they actually are. I do want to say a quick story, and I'll go to the second part of what I feel like from the spirit walk. That's what I called it, a spirit walk. Spirit walk for 2 years, really for 21 months, and there was three parts of it: 7 months, 7 months, and 7 months. And I always refer to it as a spirit walk. But everybody's on a spirit walk. Every one of us has been on a spirit walk, and to different degrees as well. But I just wanted to give an update as well, for those who happen to listen to. I think it was the one from yesterday, which where I talked about the rabbits, and how I go on these walks every night in the bayou, and these rabbits have been communicating to me, and we've been having this evolution. Well, it was last night, and like many of us, I've been feeling the solar flares, the energies, and experiencing them in varying ways. Some of us have physical, emotional, mental, and it's nice to go for a walk and spend some time with yourself, or however you need to do it. And I think many people are doing that. But I just want to give you an update on the rabbit relationship and the rabbit connection. It was really interesting. So last night when I stepped out, and I went for the walk about 10 o'clock, it was a nice 75 degrees, which is mind blowing. I mean, the weather's crazy all over the world. 2 weeks ago it was about ready to snow here. And now it's, like summer weather. So I took off, and as I'm heading out and about to cross what I call the Holy Bridge, I stopped at the foot of it, and I said some personal things, and put some prayers up and this and that. And I made my journey across the Holy Bridge. And once I got to the other side, for the second time in this about a 2 week period, this has been happening. I said, actually for the first time. For the second time, I said, "Am I going to see the rabbit?" Basically, but for the first time, I said, "Will you give me a sign that what I'm feeling is, you know, in so many terms, isn't coming with me. It isn't real. Get out of my mind, or not be attached to it, and just let it go, and trust, and follow what I was told, by the way, in those early days in that 2 year period, which is the word faith not faith the noun, but a transitive verb to trust and believe. So I put up a prayer, and I said, rabbits, can you give me a sign that I'm on the right track and I'm not crazy and Rome's not burning, And sure enough, I walk about 10 or 15 feet, and the rabbit darts across the sidewalk, and probably about 10 feet in front of me. He was behind a tree. I didn't see him. And again, he turned around, not didn't run to the brush. He went about 4 or 5 feet off the sidewalk, turned around and stopped, and just took position. And I did what I did before, and I just kept walking. I didn't stop because I didn't want to spook him. I'm not that comfortable with the connection yet. I just was talking to him. I love you. Thank you for the sign. And I, had a little connection with him as I walked by, and in gratitude, I walked away. And I went on a pretty long walk. I went on about an hour and a half walk, and then I made a little stop, and then I headed home, and I wasn't even thinking about anything. I felt pretty good about what was going on. I wrote a few words, in my solitude, and just reflected on things. And then as I was coming back toward the bayou, uh, I saw they came out. There was one rabbit came out, and and like I said, this is about a 2 week period. Every night there's been one rabbit, and once there was two rabbits. I think if you listen to the second part of this, which was the previous one, I talked about how I saw a dead rabbit, thinking, "What the hell's going on?" And then two showed up, and that was the intel. The intel was another identity, but you've expanded, you've doubled your field basically. And I don't think this is something that is just strictly about me. I believe as the individual goes, so goes the collective. So as I'm walking toward the bayou last night, a rabbit comes out and greets me, and I greet it, and then I walk a little bit more, and a second rabbit comes out, and I'm like, okay. And now I'm getting like chills running up and down my back. And I'm thinking, oh, wait, they're telling me something. Now the wind starts blowing and the trees start bowing. And I took a little time there. I did stop at that point and kind of looked at him, and I kind of glanced back, and the other one was still there. And I just kind of said thank you. And, I'm getting a bit tired, so I'm going to go home. But, and I started heading home. Take a few more steps, and a third rabbit comes, which was really, really powerful. Uh, we can't underestimate these natural, what we might call from the old human perspective, phenomena. But we are nature, they are nature. Nature is, for lack of a better word, but at least from the human experience, nature is a very good word, I think, for the things that are natural. And these are the things that are coming to the top, like the cream is rising to the top. These are our go-tos. These are our benchmarks. These are our foundations. These are our navigational abilities, is through the natural, right? And although it is very atypical or unconventional based on the old human paradigm, it is in my opinion very accurate. So I just wanted to give you that little anecdote about the continuing relationship with the rabbits and the bayou and the trees and so on. And hopefully tonight we'll have another episode that I can share with you if my soul tells me that I'm to keep doing this. So going back to 2011 when I hit the streets, the very first intel that I received, I got the message about Job, and I was, I kept that with me, and I feel like that, yeah, that you would have to say that was maybe the first intel. But once I started walking, and the reality of not having anything started to hit me. You can imagine, you've got young children, uh, you don't know where they're at. Uh, you miss them, your heart's broken, all these things that we've all gone through. And my journey has been far less difficult, I believe, than most everybody else. I know many, many stories out there, especially when it comes to sexual trauma and violation to children. People have just gone through a lot more than I have, and I believe that to my core. But the first bit of information that I received, and I believe it's something that could really help all of us right now to remember at all times. And I'll say this two ways. One, what I was told at the time, and one, how it's been translated to me today. What greater way to embody the soul? I forgot the one that from now, but it'll come back to me. Let me go to the one that's from 2011. My soul told me, from this point forward, do not lie to yourself. Do not make excuses to yourself. And do not blame anything external for anything that you're experiencing. That circumstances and consequences are the same damn thing. Because it's not about how you got here, it's about where you're at. And based on where you're at, where are you going? And I can't remember at this moment what the way it came in last night, the translation or the new translation. But I will remember it has to do with the word embodying and another word that starts with an E. Oh, I know what it was. This came in really, really, really big last night. And to me, it was basically just a rewording of what I just said to you. And that was, what greater way to embody the soul into the body than to bring anything and everything that you experience into yourself, even if you have to do it minute by minute, moment by moment, but not just to give it lip service, but to actually take it within yourself, to actually, any human interaction, any person, any place, anything, any event, any trauma, any situation, to take it into yourself. And what greater way to embody the soul into the human? I can't think of a greater way to do it than that. To actually take it into yourself, to have that conversation from the human consciousness. And I don't mean, well, let me just leave it at that, from the human consciousness to the soul. You know, back in 2011 and 2012, when I was on the streets, I referred to this as the brutal honesty of the soul. Because look at our lives. Look at the experiences that we've had. If we just step out for a moment and look at those people who have really served us best in terms of providing a mirror, are those that tell us like it is, okay? That tell us the truth, okay? And that's a very difficult thing, because we tend to get defensive, and we can project and this and that. We're all the same. We've all done it. And I think that brings something else up, is that there is a common denominator that we all have, regardless of where we were born or what religion we were raised in or not raised in, or whatever the circumstances of our life. Obviously, that common denominator is the soul. And you know, these things that I'm saying aren't necessarily anything new, but again, I'm just being guided to go forth with this. And it's 33 minutes and 33 seconds when I said that, so you can't argue with these synchronicities. But you know, it's you know, something that I believe we do with conscious effort to own everything within ourselves. It's not been an easy road. It's not a comfortable road. We have to admit some things to ourselves. But I will also say this. There's another common denominator that we all have with each other, and that is, we've gone through the human experience in plural, okay? Whether you remember your past lives or not, I can promise you that they're there. Those that are here on this earth right now are very, very special souls. These are valiant, tough souls. This is the A team, and that goes for anyone and everyone that showed up. It's an amazing time to be here. But the other common denominator that we have is the human experience, the human condition, the pain, the trauma, the suffering. Um, Nobody gets out alive. Nobody misses a step on the soul highway. Um, and what I'm watching happen now is, last year, uh, I think it was last year, I can't remember now. My friend Ty Hudnall, the one that provides the music for Soulogy and that I play music with on Mondays, um, he is an astrologer. He's an esoteric astrologer. And he said that this is the year of the fall. I think this was last year, actually. The fall of the guru and the yogi. And what that means is not individuals. What it really means is the transformation into self-empowerment and self-sourcing, and that's where we are now. And I'm watching this happen. When I take a peek into social media, I'm watching the old paradigm fall, and it's very, very interesting. So I've spent a lot of time over the past few weeks, as I've taken this hiatus, trying to figure out, a, do I personally, on a personal level, continue with Soulogy? Do I have any energy left? Is it still my passion in as far as my contribution to humanity and to myself? Um, and I've been all over the place. It's like everybody. There's been a lot of soul searching going on, uh, and I've come away with it and I've talked about this over the years. I've kept my eye on many, many platforms over the last 10 years, many disclosure, conspiracy, starseed, lightworker platforms to see what's going on, to absorb information, to gain contrast on my palette that I paint with, and to, just really to assist fulfilling my role, in this experience that we're all sharing together. And what I've come to is that I have had, the honor in 4,000 plus Soul Speaks 5D episodes. I've had the honor of obviously sharing space with a lot of people, yeah, a whole lot of people. So, over 4,000 really, because um, we have had people come on over and over, but definitely, so that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And I've had the honor of or, you might even say the prestige of interviewing some pretty familiar people or famous people like David Icke. And I think, that's great. And I'm very grateful for having done that. But where I see Soulogy, not because it's Soulogy, but because Soulogy is just another word for that natural, for nature, for the Holy Spirit, for um, the unity consciousness, a unified field that we all share. That common denominator that contains the soul but also contains the human experience. This place that we're meeting to create a third energy from the experience and from the Akashic that we brought with us. So, what I've come to is that I feel like that the strength of what Soulogy has been is that we have brought the common from the world's eyes, from the old paradigm's eyes, from the um, from the social media, big tech platforms' eyes. We have brought the 99% to the forefront. We have brought those people that nobody knows about. Um, that to me has been the strength uh, to me of Soulogy, that we will sit down and share space, whether it be me or somebody else doing a talk show, having a conversation. Um, we have brought the people, the masses, the 99% to the forefront. And I feel like that's where we should go. I've just started to schedule some shows, and I've actually sent out, 3 or 4 messages or requests or invitations to some people that I just picked up off comments that they made off videos. Um, and I'm really looking forward to them. And the answer that I'm getting from them is, I'm scared shitless, but I'm going to come on with you because I have a story to tell. and my soul is telling me that it's time to come out now. And this is my point. My point is that is the common denominator of the human experience that is bared wide open in at the greatest level of transparency that a soul or a person can take to or get to in that moment, that will um, really reflect the true essence of those people that are watching, okay, who then in turn will do the same. Now we've actually seen this occur in the evolution of Soulogy over the years, but we're in a different place now. We're on the quote unquote new earth. We are in a equilibrium where the universal reciprocity is meeting us in in the geometry and the mathematics of the original design. And so this is going to be very interesting. So I just want to share that with you. I mean, I'm still trying to find my feet after all we've been through. And I think 2023 was kind of a year of integration, our first year really on the new earth. But there were still a lot of cobwebs attached to us. And I really feel like that two or more people sharing their experience, not worried about the number of likes, not worried about the number of views, okay, not worried about the comments that are made, just blocking all of that out and just being themselves is the most powerful code sharing opportunity that we can have. And I'm feeling like this is the direction that we're headed, and to kind of expand new territory, the principles, um, the basic principles, the basic um, positives, the things that we didn't leave behind, the things that we're going to bring forward with us. I think we just had a problem. Let's see. Okay. Anyway, tech issue there. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm feeling. And like I said, tomorrow uh, we're going to create a tutorial, an in-depth tutorial that will allow people it's a very simple process. I mean, to see the process and to come into the network and to create their own show or number of shows, and just run with it in a place where everybody has the opportunity to do it, where we have that congruency, where we further embrace this concept or this approach to not going after the clickbait. And this is kind of what I see here. There's plenty of platforms out there still talking about what's wrong with this world. There's plenty of platforms out there that are promoting books and this and that, and I think that's great. And I think that what a person's doing in this transformation, uh, in an effort to expand the collective, is important, should always be in the discourse. But however, uh, the thing is, there's enough disclosure, conspiracy, enough platforms and conversations about what's gone on and what's wrong, and the lies and all that. I want to be in an environment where people are telling the truth, where we're being more and more transparent, because you can't just flip a switch and say, oh, I'm going to tell you everything right now. Do you realize what kind of shock that would be? It would be more of a shock than the X flare that we got today. And I have a feeling that my soul is with these personal self interviews is this is where it's headed. There are things that I've experienced in my life, just like you, that have been very traumatic, that have been self deprecating, uh, that have inflicted pain and suffering and trauma by my own decision on myself. And anyone that's ever had issues with addictions or habits or just certain things, where they made the call, at a conscious human effort to experience it, lost control of their lives or whatever the case may be. That's some pretty heavy stuff, and I think it's time now that we get past trying to put up or present a certain persona to those things external of us, which is really just a waste of time now anyway, because it's a false validation and it's a false self appraisal to judge by the response given. So I feel like that it's time to really open up and talk about the human experience in a way, not by no means victim consciousness, because that's a waste of time as well, but in a way that actually allows us to grow comfortable with being fully transparent, comfortable with being buck naked, to the soul, and bearing our truths, which are this, not apparently at first glance, not this high wisdom and beautiful words, but to actually have a conversation about the difficult times that we've had and the transformations that we've made. And the more we can talk about these things that were so uncomfortable that we wanted to hide from the world, we can start to see the value of it. So I have a feeling where Soulogy Network is headed with a kind of a common denominator is going to be this. It's not going to be about the disclosure and the conspiracy and the bullshit and the narratives. Not to take anything away from that or from the people that are doing that, because they have a role as we all have a role. I'm only speaking about what I'm picking up from the consciousness that I call Soulogy, that we can share our stories, we can share our pain and suffering, because we can speak about it without having to charge anymore. We can reach a point where we start to understand that everybody's been through it. Everybody's embarrassed in themselves. Everybody has been immersed in victim consciousness. Everybody has made transformations. This is the other side of truth as defined to me on March the 10th, 2012, which happened to be Morgan's birthday, which I wouldn't meet her for 4 more years, given to be by Archangel Michael's consciousness, when I said, "What is Soulogy?" And he said, "It is the other side of truth." And I believe this is the other side of truth. The other side of truth is when you can say, "Hey, you know what? I tie my shoes, put my shoes on, put my pants on the same way you do," right? Let's get past the bullshit. Let's understand that everybody channels. Let's understand that everybody transmits, even if you don't think that you do. Everybody has psychic abilities. We don't. We'll gain more, from my humble opinion. Okay, and it's just my opinion. We'll gain more from sharing stories and being real with each other and talking about the bad mistakes that we made from the old paradigm's perspective, to understand more than anything that we have this common denominator of the human condition and the human experience, and we have alchemized it and transformed it to bring us to where we are now. It's a powerful, powerful thing. And if you look back at your own life, and you can see these moments where you've turned it around, where you've turned the shadow into gold, and I think it's so important to be open, to be open more and more every day. No matter how much you've learned, no matter how much I've transformed or you've transformed, no matter what book you just read or what lecture you just heard or what video or what download you just received, to be open that we don't know everything, to be open to listening to anything and everything that we may not have heard before that may oppose our belief systems. Because, when I go back to what I talked about earlier, these first 2 years when I was on the streets, and the things that were taken away, the things that were removed from my life, family, money, job, prestige, freedoms, etc., etc., etc. The most powerful things that were and that have been removed from my life are belief systems. Belief systems, period. Belief of what I think a person is, or what they think, or what the government sold me on, or what religion sold me on, or what my transmission gave me. Keep in mind that everything that comes to us, including downloads and transmissions and channelings, is a part of us. It is not us, and it is not higher than us. It is a part of us. We are the full composite. We contain all of this. Everything outside of us that's presented to us is pointing to the reality of it being within us. And yes, we were told, and it was true, that when we see things in other people and we judge them, it's something we don't see in ourselves, and that is a fact. But we're still evolving and we're moving past this thing, and it's starting to have another twist to it now. And that is where we can be open, honest, vulnerable, and transparent in front of others, and we reflect just as the great healers reflect, and 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 prove and demonstrate the reality that ultimately healers don't heal, that those who come for the healing or that receive the healing, so to speak, are actually healing themselves based on the reflection that they're looking at. I think it's important too to get to the point where we can accept that we don't know everything. We don't have to understand everything. So we can open up to what's available to us that's been hindered by our need to understand. Our need to understand is really the shadowed ego resisting what's coming in. Okay? It really is. We don't need to know anything. I am soul. I am the I am, and so are you. And we're in this spirit flesh in this human form, and this has never been done before in mass, right? We are doing something that maybe some of the secret fraternities and societies have done, such as, if you look at the Tibetan monks, and they go on this 13-year journey to reach the diamond light body. Well, we're doing that in mass now. And our development and our evolution is really only hindered and impeded and slowed down by our lack of belief. So it's kind of an interesting, paradoxical, ironic twist that we are to give up belief systems, okay? And as we give up these belief systems, our belief in who we are and what we're a part of grows stronger and stronger and stronger. I don't feel that there's anything more important, and I'm sure many of you feel the same, than our own personal alignment. We don't need to save this world. It's a playground in a university. We don't need to bring the world into alignment by fixing things in the external. We don't really need to do anything, actually. But our focus, and we know this, and again, this isn't anything new, is to bring ourselves into alignment. And by virtue of that, as within, without, as below, above, right? So, I'm not really saying anything that hasn't been said before, and I don't think of myself in that way. I'm just doing what I'm told, as all of us have, which has brought us together in spaces such as Soulogy, where we can see reflections of ourselves that aren't those things that differentiate us, okay? We come to an environment like this, in these types of communities, you might say, and somebody does light language and I can't do light language, and somebody channels a certain way and I can't do that. And we see ourselves and go, oh, I wish I could do that. No, every one of us is doing it. We're doing it all the time. Some are more conscious than others. Just because, in anything that's bringing us into judgment and comparison is really competition. And these are the things that are dropping away. So I know I lost track a little bit there. Uh, and it's funny because I'm doing these things and I've never been nervous in thousands of videos, and I have been in this series, and that's okay because one thing I learned um, through this process of the last couple of weeks is that, you know, it's good to be nervous. It's good to be a little scared. Doesn't mean you're fearful. Doesn't mean that you're not fearless. But and this is what I love about the lives, because I don't want to come on here, but I come over, sit down, I turn the music on, and I click live, and then I don't have a choice. And there's something about being in a situation where you have nothing to lose, and where you can really find yourself, and you can really let yourself go, and really open up and be transparent. My understanding is this is the direction that we're all headed. We're all headed into what was once like a flash of infinite intelligence or infinite download, where it's becoming something that occurs all the time. It's our natural nature, and the way I can identify it is to be, spontaneous, to act when we're nudged to act, spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and courageous each and every moment. And some incredible things happen, and doors open, and that type of thing. um, we spend a lot of time beating ourselves up, and we've been through a lot. And let's just remember that there's still, regardless of the levels of transformation, regardless of the fact that we've landed on this earth, there's still things that we have to work out. And and I will say this: we all know when we're imbalanced and uncomfortable. And one thing that I think that all of us can apply in our conscious evolution, in our conscious way of life, as we get acclimated with the new earth, is to ask for help, just as I did with the rabbits last night and the trees and the wind. And I got an answer. And we all know that when we have a pure intention and heartfelt emotions, even if it's in frustration, uh, in bewilderment, we hear people that you see, talking about this and writing about this in social media. I thought, especially the last few days, they're like, I thought this was over. It's come back. This has come back, and that's come back. We don't have to figure it out. There is another way, and that way is ask, show me, heal me, guide me. I have a chuckle and a laugh most every night as I reach that place where I want to go into communion, because I think I'm praying to myself. I don't understand all this, but I do know this, that when I'm in my heart and I say in the Trinity energy what is best for me, what is best for you, and best for the collective, what serves the highest and best good, I'm putting this I'm putting this prayer up, so to speak, and you might use different words, to gain assistance. Uh, I don't have to know, what it is or what happened or what the root cause was. I'm just saying I am healed. I am light. I am love. I am wisdom. I am courage. I am open mindedness. I mean, the power that we have in speaking to ourselves is like no other. And then to, as the Bible says, to be in a situation where two or more gather really takes it up into the cosmic stratosphere. And this is where we're at. So I don't really know what I'm doing with these. I'm not sure how long I will be doing them, but I do have some shows that we're starting to schedule. Um, and like I said, just as a reminder, we're going to be putting up a tutorial, or developing or creating a tutorial tomorrow, for the Soulogy Network, for anyone that wants to come in and produce their own shows. We'll get that out this weekend, and I'm looking forward to that. it's nice because it's a situation where people can come in and just go. They don't have to have guidance. They don't have to have, somebody do things for them. This is a situation where they'll be able to come in and just create what they want to create and go live anytime they want to go live, etc., etc. So I'm really looking forward to that. So, having said all that, thank you for sharing space with me. Endless gratitude, love, honor, respect, reverence, all blessings to you and yours and all of your endeavors. And I will see you next time. Peace out.